Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. Today we're going to discuss how to plan, build, and manage a large construction project using Cintoo Cloud. Just for your information, this webinar will be recorded for future use and will be posted to our YouTube channel. If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A panel located at the bottom of your screen, and we will answer during the presentation. So it is my pleasure to introduce our two speakers today, which is Dominique Pouliken, who is our CEO and project manager for Cintoo, as well as our valued guest, Drew Redman, who is the VDC manager at Hensel Phelps. So just to briefly go over to today's agenda, first, Dominique will give a brief introduction to Cintoo Cloud. And then we'll turn it over to Drew Redman, who will discuss how he uses Cintoo Cloud to plan, build, and manage on a large project they're currently working on. After his presentation, we will then have a short Q&A session to address any questions that may come up during Drew's portion of the presentation. Following that, we will have Dominique come back and show us what's new in Cintoo Cloud and what you can expect in the very near future. And then we'll have a second follow-up Q&A session where we will answer additional questions. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Dominique Pouliken, who will now introduce you to Cintoo Cloud.
Thank you, Rob. Dominique Pouliken, so CEO and project manager for Cintoo Cloud, with a background in reality capture. Used to be a product manager for Recap at Autodesk for some time. So maybe you've heard about Autodesk Recap. It's pretty well used now in the point cloud community. So what we have with Cintoo, Cintoo is a company based out of the US and France. We position Cintoo at the convergence of digital twins and reality capture. What we have developed is a platform called Cintoo Cloud that will make your laser scans fully cloud compatible and accessible from anywhere at any time. The problem we are solving with Cintoo Cloud is the fact that the laser scan data or every kind of reality capture data is massive. So it's very difficult to share and collaborate on this kind of data. So what we had here is a platform that will solve this big challenge so that your laser scan become easier to view in a web browser, share, you can enrich them with annotations, measurements. We can also cloud connect to other BIM and CAD platforms. I'll show you that later. Then your laser scan data becomes really part of your full collaboration process. Important to know is Cintoo Cloud runs exclusively on Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure. And we even offer the capability for you, for each one of your projects, to decide where the data will be hosted in one of the data centers provided by Amazon or Azure. That means if you're in the US and you want the data to stay in the US, you can do that. But there are various data centers available in the US, but also there are other data centers available in France, in Australia, in Europe, globally speaking, South America, etc. So you can always, for each project, you can decide where the data will be hosted. Important to know as well is that Cintoo itself as a company is fully certified as a SOC 2 Type 2 company. So that means we're compliant with the latest and greatest cybersecurity protocols that apply to SaaS companies. So the core technology behind Cintoo, and this has taken many years of effort for research and development, is the capability to turn a point cloud into a very high resolution mesh. And we do it for each point cloud or for each scan position. On this point cloud to mesh transformation, we have various impacts. The first one is that we will make the point cloud much lighter, so about 10 to 20 times lighter, but with no loss of, no compromise on mesh or on point cloud density, accuracy, and also the structure of the point cloud, okay? This is done before the upload. So everything uploaded to the cloud is mesh-based, and then we can stream very fast those meshes in the web browser. People would call us the Netflix for 3D data for this very reason, because you can stream very fast, very high resolution 3D meshes in a simple web browser with no plugin to install. Making it also a mesh makes it much easier to view and interpret. So really what is Cintoo Cloud about is about democratization. We offer many more people the capability to use and leverage this very trustful information that's provided by your laser scan devices. But in addition to that, since we keep the full resolution of the scanner and the full structure of the project, we can do the inverse transformation. So we can go back from the mesh to the source point cloud, either as a structure file, including the panoramic images, or as a unified point cloud. So this will be used for the distribution of the scan data. At some point, some of your users abroad or in other offices may need to access your data, your scan data as a point cloud because they want to model in Revit or Navisworks on AutoCAD. And those software will have been optimized to handle and to view point cloud in the RCP or CS format. So this is the reason why we allow the inverse transformation back to a point cloud. You can also, of course, download the data as a mesh. So with Cintoo Cloud, we serve primarily two big industries, being what we call Industry 4.0, with big customers in automobile, aerospace, manufacturing, oil and gas, energy, globally speaking. And we also serve big GCs or laser scanning firms in the BIM and construction businesses. And we serve those companies with three main value propositions that each one comes with its own set of features, of course. The first one on the left-hand side is everything about sharing, collaboration, viewing this laser scan data as 3D meshes that you can easily navigate, enrich with annotations and measurements, distribute over the cloud to other stakeholders or people that need to access. You can also organize your scans in work zones. We were showing that in the demo with Drew. This is our main value proposition, starting with Cintoo Cloud. Number two is around visual analysis or quality control. We can cloud connect Cintoo Cloud to, let's say, Autodesk BIM 360, pull a Revit model or Navisworks model, AutoCAD model, and then compare your as-built conditions, so that means your scan data, with your BIM or CAD model in order to detect issues or to make sure that your BIM model is according to what is being built, or eventually change your CAD model or BIM model if something has been detected. And last but not least, on the right-hand side, we are now releasing a set of interesting features to manage your equipment in your factories or plants or any kind of job sites. We call it asset management. We offer the capability to connect Cintoo Cloud to your digital twin or CAD platforms with hyperlinks, so that you can experience any kind of equipment in their existing conditions. And there are many ways to populate your asset list, your assets inside Cintoo Cloud. First one is manual tagging. Second one is to get a list of equipment from your CAD model. And third one is using our very powerful AI engine to automatically detect those equipment in your laser scan data. So more about this later, but this is something we are really compelling for, and do not hesitate to ask questions about this new set of tools. So this is the global ecosystem in which we live in. So we will take your laser scan data from any source, being static scans, and now we are just introducing this month the capability to also import your mobile indoor data as well, like the one coming from Navis, VLX, or Viametris, or Geoslam, Z series, etc. And then we will turn those information or those point cloud after they have been registered into Cintoo meshes for being uploaded to Cintoo Cloud. So everything in the cloud is mesh-based. Cintoo Cloud is cloud connected to BIM 360 to pull models and to push back issues. We can also you can also coordinate your issue tracking with BIMtrack or Procore. This kind of workflow already exists. We can also upload BIM models like IFC models to the cloud, to Cintoo Cloud directly from your disk. When it comes to distribution of the data, as I said, you can do it during using the inverse mesh to point cloud transformation. You can do that in E57, RCP, or CS, being structured or unstructured data. Or you can also download mesh-based formats, SBX, OBJ, STL. I will be giving an example of that a little later. So it's all about streaming high-resolution 3D meshes in a web viewer. We can do that on desktop, laptops, tablets. But now we can also stream high-resolution 3D meshes in game engines like Unity or Unreal. The goal here is to bring the as-built conditions in your VR headsets and to be able to create any kind of what-if scenario, simulation scenarios, or factory layouts applications using Unity or Unreal, and for which you don't have to care about how can I bring my huge point cloud data into my experience. This is done by streaming live the high-resolution 3D meshes from Cintoo Cloud. If you're interested by this workflow, we can please feel free to send us an email as well. So Cintoo Cloud basically has been sold for about 3 years now. It's used by 300 plus companies worldwide in about 32 countries. It's very robust platform that is being used to handle more than 1.7 million scans. We are close to 2 million now, with 22,000 users. So yeah, feel free to contact us if you're interested. And now I will leave the stage to my colleague, Drew. Drew, if you
Morning.
can.
You got me?
Yeah, absolutely. If you can share your screen now.
Absolutely. So my piece here is I'm going to talk a little bit about our journey, how we got to starting to use Cintoo, and kind of demo a few of the things that Dominic touched on early on. So I'm on a pretty large airport project. We are doing extensive laser scanning here on this project. We are sitting at roughly around 5,200 scans right now, and that is actually live scans, not archived scans. So we're of actual scans, we're probably closer to 6,500 scans on this project. So we started off in another cloud-based platform, and we're not getting a lot of adoption as far as who's using our point clouds. We spend a lot of time capturing this data. We do capture all the data in-house. I've got a staff, and we are pretty much scanning every day. So that number tends to trend up just about every day. And so it became almost frustrating a little bit when we weren't getting the adoption of all this data we were collecting for the team, from the owners group all the way down to the design team, until we kind of started pushing everything up to Cintoo, and it almost became a little bit of the easy button for everyone to start to use this data. The things that kind of sold me on it is we are, as a company, we use multiple platforms for capturing our data. Almost all of our laser scanning is done in-house. We use Leica scanners, we use Faro scanners, we use Trimble scanners, and Cintoo, being platform agnostic, kind of helped us along in choosing what we wanted to use to go share these point clouds out. So being a remodel, this is a pretty large project as far as existing conditions. So as we kind of click through some of these areas and we start to look at, areas that we're currently working, how it really affected everyone is we're able to go see exactly what's happening, what areas we're working in, and what is existing and what is not existing. And then as we start to go out and demo areas and start to tear things out to go reinstall later, it allows us to truly see very quickly how things are fitting in place. The connection to BIM 360, so where I can go see models, added a huge benefit. I mean, so when we go look at the BIM model section that I have over here of the models I have loaded in here, we are actually under contract with several projects here right now. So I can manage multiple projects in a folder structure over here and load models directly in to go view how things are going to be installed and how things are going to tie together. So I just turned on this structural model. As I go into more of a mesh mode, whether it be RGB, I can truly see how my structural steel is going to be added on. You can also view that in surface mode, and I'll touch on a few of the surface mode a little bit later, but this becomes a pretty powerful tool, especially in really dark areas. It allows you to see much, much further. So this is that mesh. And then it still also has the absolute, for those that are used to seeing point clouds and can understand point clouds, you do definitely have the full point cloud available as well, outside of the scan mode where it's almost more of a, if you're familiar with like 360 photo viewers, this kind of turns your point cloud into that level of detail. Like I said, we got multiple projects in here. It allows me to compare my design models directly with my trade models, directly with the point cloud. We definitely use our coordination and collaboration tools still, but I use the point clouds more and more in this platform instead of bringing those into my traditional coordination platforms. When we start to install work, we have an entire section in here for inspections. So as I start to install work, we can go down and do a direct comparison on what we have installed versus what we had modeled. So kind of under that, in that same aspect, this is a new deck extension right here that we're putting in. I can go again, turn on that design or that trade model and do that direct comparison with how accurate the install was. There are tools in here. We're not going to do every button, but there are tools in here to do proximity, fading in and out of what's on top, distance calculations on how far things or how closely things are installed. But we use this tool quite a bit during inspections to make sure that stuff that's installed is trending in the right direction. And then similar to what you would need to do, measurement tools like crazy. I mean, we can go measure just about anything and save those measurements, export those measurements, print reports of those measurements, and get those out to the team that really matters to. We can measure X, Y, Z. You can measure disto or perpendicular surfaces. So these tools are priceless when we're trying to go and design new ductwork and design new elements around existing conditions. This becomes the tool that we almost can't do it without it at this point. The crop tool is one of the things that really, the crop and export, I guess I should combine those two together. So the crop and export really allowed us to share point clouds more efficiently. We used to export all these point clouds for our trades, for them to go load into their authoring software. And what we found is many times the point clouds we were sending were far too large, and nobody wants to deal with a 4 GB point cloud. It's not going to run very well in your authoring software. So being able to go crop down to just what you need for that specific day and go export that data and utilize that data for that day and then just kind of delete it back out. So we create these crop regions, North Main Shaft, West Side, and all these different crop regions. This allows us to go create crop regions around RFIs and go use those images in RFIs and to get more accurate data. When we look at these crop regions, these allow us to go and export just the point cloud, export the mesh, and go load that smaller point cloud into our authoring software. If somebody needs a VAV and they need to know exactly where a VAV is, they can go crop down to just the VAV, and they'll have like a 4 MB point cloud that they can go load into. Just a few points, show them where the VAV is, they can go model it and then get it back out of there. Kind of going back to that surface mode, a prime example of a dark area where this surface mode became huge to see what was going on. The ceiling that I'm going to show is a sloped ceiling, and it goes up in elevation to the point where you really can't see. It goes up and up and up and up. But if I were to swap this out to surface mode, now suddenly you can see absolutely everything that's going on up there. I mean, this is true surface created from the point cloud in real time. And you can jump around just as quickly and truly see what's going on above in these areas. The last major piece that I wanted to touch on is kind of our integration with BIMTrack. We are BIMTrack users, so we spend a lot of time training our staff on how to go use these tools. So these tools are something that the more eyes you have on it, the better, because now we're able to find more issues. So if I were to say that, as a silly example, this beam clamp is in the wrong spot, I can go create an annotation and go create an issue of this spot and convert that to an issue. And as I go fill out my data, I can go assign it to somebody. I will just assign this to myself. Maybe. There we go. And I will go. I'll go create that. Got to give it a name. I will go create that annotation. This allows me to push this annotation directly to BIMTrack. If I press this button, it'll push to BIMTrack and make an issue. And then I can go, and if I assign it to the right person, it goes and sends them a notification to say, hey, you've got an issue assigned to you. So we've used this tool quite a bit. As I get more and more staff into the system, they're able to then go find their own issues, go create their own crop regions, go create their own annotations, their own measurements, and really start to share and collaborate with the rest of the team using the tool. So as you see here, the number of scans, being able to go control what in Cintoo is called a work zone, has become absolutely critical. I mean, nobody wants to go view 5,200 scans at one time. It's just not really feasible. But with these work zones, we can go break it down. I've got a work zone, a major work zone here of 424 scans that loads incredibly quickly. But if I go down to a work zone with only 19 scans, it'll load even quicker, right? So as we go break these down, these are fully customizable as you go upload scans. So if I were to go laser scan out in the field, this whole area, I can come back after the fact and break it up into smaller work zones, which then also allows me to do version control on all these work zones. So as work's getting installed in this 8C electrical room, I can go rescan it and replace these scans and have a version history of what was there versus what's there now. To kind of put it all together, you know, I've been laser scanning and working with point clouds for many years, and I have had a lot of frustrating times when we go capture data for a whole group and it just sits on the shelf, collects dust, and doesn't be used. So this has allowed me to have a little bit of a restored confidence in that the time that we're going to go spend and the money that we're going to go spend to capture this data to benefit everyone is actually going to be utilized and used for the better of the project.
I have a question. I have a question on that, Drew, if I may. We have these user management features, you know, like that would allow you to invite as many users as you want, because we have unlimited user policy, you know, with Cintoo Cloud. And then we have the possibility to invite those users to this project, either at the root of the project or in each work zone. Are you using this capability, or would you say, or I invite my users and contractors to the whole project at once?
No, that's a great point. I mean, with the number of projects that I have on this project as a whole, I've got bidders coming in, I've got clients coming in, and I need to share them just one work zone or just one piece of a work zone. And for instance, I might not want to invite them to the project at all, just give them access for a short period of time. So with that, what we do is, if I go to this data tab of where that's kind of the root of all of my content, I can say, oh, this M1E area, I want to share this with somebody, and I can have it expire. So I can go create a URL and a shareable link, and I can also give it an expiration date. So if I have somebody that I want to be able to go bid on work and be able to view all of the data that is existing today, and they need to go figure out, they need to go demo these 6 ducks, they can go view it, measure it, do whatever they need, and then after they're done, it'll expire, and then they're not technically invited into the project. Once they are selected, then they can then be invited into the project and have the full list of tools and all of the point clouds. So that became actually a very critical piece with the quantity of staff that we have on a project of this scale.
You said that because we like very much everything around democratization. Would you say that new users now have access to this kind of trustful data that you could not access before, who would be those users? Like electricians? I don't know. Mechanical
Yeah, I mean, and it's what we have seen is it's everyone, from the field engineers all the way up to the owners, and then obviously our trade partners who are out there and they're trying to go figure out how they're going to go run all their new stuff around these. So our mechanical duct and our mechanical plumbing guys are figuring out where they're going to go connect into a duct, what sections they have to remove. When we go and look at specific areas, we'll kind of pop back down into this area here, M1W. When we go down into here, I've got ductwork down here that we need to connect exactly to, and tie into some existing conditions. So as I pop down into some of these areas, actually I want to go a little bit further out here. So as we need to go connect into some of these existing ducts, like here's a prime example where we have demolished as we to go do our structural upgrades, but now we need to connect directly back in with some ductwork that's already in here. We can go tie in. Now I can go give them this data. They can go export if they wanted to just the end of this duct and say, okay, I'm going to go align my duct to the end of this duct and then continue on from there. So those are those tools that it allows you, if you've been able to export just a small piece, allows just about everyone to use it, no matter the size of your computer and the processing power of your computer, because you can get small pieces that you need. And then again, going back to viewing it in here, then we're able to go validate. There's an example right here. If I were to go turn on some ductwork right here, and this happens to be a sequencing issue, less of a coordination and a clash issue. But if I go turn on this duct model right here, you can see, well, I've got a problem with some existing conduit, right? These conduit are not in a model. So traditional coordination and traditional clash detection doesn't work on a lot of these things on an existing remodel. So being able to use these tools, I mean, this is clear as day. This is a problem. We need to go fix this. So you see it in both directions. People exporting and using it directly in their authoring software, but a lot of the times we're seeing a lot of people just use it directly on the web platform, and it's everyone. So to kind of really roundabout way of answering your question, I've seen adoption from just about everyone on the team.
Excellent. No, this is great. Maybe we can check if we have any questions from the audience. Rob?
Yeah, so I have had a couple questions here. So Drew, I'm putting you on the spot. So one of them is really about kind of like your work zone strategy. So how do you organize your data? And then to kind of go on top of that is, I know you guys scan continuously. How do you deal with adding additional scans as they come in?
So we'll start with the work zone. This a lot of thought went into planning this, and then a lot of that came down to the number of projects we have here. This list is actually short. I've got a couple more projects coming up. We've got several phases. We've got several sub projects. And then I've also got the design team. So this is just the BIM model piece, where we've got all these model loaded. We've also developed some three-dimensional grids to go view grid lines, right? So that was the first piece, is setting up the roots. So BIM model was our root. Then we break that down a little bit further, design, grid, and then trade models. Underneath that, we break it down a little further and be able to turn off and turn on small pieces. We all know that models and point clouds, they get to be extremely heavy. So it's being able to break it down into smaller pieces. Like I turn on the ductwork, or I turn on the plumbing model, or I turn on the structural model. So that's just the models in itself. When we get into the point clouds, again, we break it down. I think early on when our adoption of Cintoo, ideally we can keep our zones to 100 scans or less. You see this level 5 zone is 1,400 scans. So we break it down further into subsections. So these are actual, this is actual terminology used by the airport. So we break it down so that the owners group and operations of the airport understand what M1E, M1W, what all these zones are. Then we break it down further for the work that we have at hand at that particular time. And then the version control kind of ties into the same thing. So when we want to go, when we know we're going to need to do revision control on this particular room here, then we will go make a sub work zone just for that room, so we can go do version control on that room. So if I chose one that we actually did version control on, let me see. So if I click on versions, you can see, let's see, some of these I know I've got versions. That's version 0. Version 0, I've picked a prime example where I don't have a lot of version control. There's a version. So when we go and replace scans with new scans, you know, we'll break it down for different areas that we have that will need new scans following up. Our strategy for this overall piece is when we're done, we will start to archive existing condition scans and move them into, so I have this whole area of existing conditions. So as original scans pre any work are completed, they get moved into an existing conditions. This existing conditions is pre-contract, right? So we'll go move things into there as we go replace them with the new scans. Does that answer the question?
I believe so.
All right.
The other question I had is how do you get your information into like something like Navisworks to do a clash detection or something like that? Is that something you guys currently do, or is that not a workflow you currently use?
Absolutely. I actually have an export happening right here from Cintoo. This is a very thin section of the level 6 ductwork. So I can go check existing conditions versus our demolition drawings. So I'll go use the Cintoo Connect tool, and I will go export an RCP out of the Cintoo Connect. That RCP then loads directly into Navisworks or Revit or Tekla or any of our solutions. The nice thing is when we go upload, I'm typically uploading E57s, but I can pull down RCPs and RCSs from here. You know, as far as being platform agnostic, like I said, it can accept FLS files, it can accept E57 files. You know, so it allows you to upload and export a multitude of formats.
Great. I think that's all I got for right now. I've answered a lot of these just by typing, but no, I think that covers it from the Q&A side.
Dominic, is there anything else that you kind of wanted me to touch on?
No, this is perfect. Thank you very much for this presentation. That was fantastic. Let me go back to my deck, and I will show you a little more about what we're working on now.
Thank you, Drew.
You betcha.
So sharing my screen again. Rob, let me know if you see my screen.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. So our Q&A session, we had it already. So let's move on. So a glimpse of what we have been introducing lately, and a glimpse of what we're going to introduce in a few weeks from now. Okay. What's new in Cintoo Cloud? First thing I would highlight is this crop tool. I think that Drew already spoke about it, but I wanted to make a quick demo of it. So I will go into Cintoo Cloud to make a quick demo of that using this small project. This is a new so we already have a crop tool for years, but what we have been introducing lately is a 3D crop box. Okay, so if I go in my I will go into my 3D view in a second. You will see how we use it. Okay, what also I want to highlight is exactly what Drew has been speaking about. Everything you crop inside Cintoo Cloud is, of course, geolocated. It can be turned into a point cloud or as a mesh, and everything is geolocated. Okay, so the way it works is that you use a crop tool here, you open the crop tool, and you have now, this is the new stuff we have this like bounding box, a little bit like Recap. Recap was our reference for the design of this one. And then you can crop, if you click, you see if I put my mouse on one of the faces of the cube, this will highlight the one which is in front of me. But if I press Shift I will go and pick the one that is behind. So you can move the other one as well. Like, okay, I'm trying to pull this one or to pull this one here. And of course, what is interesting is that everything I do is also can be also done with the sliders. And you will see how you can combine the use of the crop box with the sliders in a very efficient way. Okay, so everything you do in the slider is also done in the crop box. Of course, the new stuff here is that you can also rotate the crop box, which was difficult to do with the sliders. So now you can do it with the crop box as well. Okay, you just pick up one of the edge of the box, and then you rotate it. You can always reset, of course. This is what we just released recently. What we have done as an example, let me go into this work zone only, so the scans only. My colleague Steven has created a few crops here. What we wanted to show is that we can bring this model as a mesh with various mesh resolutions, like in Navisworks. So what we did, we created a few crops like this one. This is a crop of an equipment. Okay, and if I put back my crop tool, I can have more data to be adjusted to it. Okay, and so this I will not update. If I click on update here, I will destroy the initial crop that was done. So and then what we did with these assets or this equipment. Let me show you another example here. This is another example. What we did, we exported as a mesh. So we use this unification process that we have in Cintoo Cloud. You click on Create Mesh here. That will take you to this window. This is where you can select the mesh resolution. So what we did for this equipment, we use the smallest resolution possible. So the highest, should I say, the highest resolution possible, about 0.2 centimeters, about 0.1 inch. And to show that, yeah, this mesh, this equipment will be turned into a very high resolution mesh as a resolution of the scanner. You may not want to do this for the whole project, okay? Although it's a small project here, only 14 scans. But if you do that, if you turn the whole project into a very high resolution mesh at the resolution of the scanner, you may end up with a few gigabytes of mesh data, which you will never be able to open in any other software, desktop software, I mean. Okay, so what we did, we created those meshes with high resolution, and we also created bigger meshes of the area, like this one. This is only one area of the whole stuff. This is another. Let me switch to RGB. You will have a better view. Okay, so these are adjacent areas. And the way we create those adjacent areas is using the data we have here in the slider boxes. You see, you can put your mouse into those slider boxes. And if I press I use my mouse wheel, and if I press either Control, Shift, or Alt, I can really go and adjust my crops very easily. You see, I'm using here Control. Now I'm using Shift. I have smaller increments, you see. And if I use Alt, I will be even small. I will have even smaller increments. So this is pretty easy to adjust your crop. What you can also do is also copy this value and put it here. You can copy paste so that it creates adjacent, crops. Okay. And what we did with that, we created a Navisworks project. Let me go back to the deck. Here, so this is the same data in Navisworks. Okay, so you see there are various FBX files here that have been imported, including even the point cloud, so RCP. But so here we just highlight the mesh pieces, and you see that each mesh piece that we created is strictly adjacent to the other. So the geolocation information is maintained, is kept in those meshes. Now, if we hide those, say, background information, or say the wall information, now we just highlight the objects. This is a kind of high resolution meshes we have inside this. So here, what we want to show is that everything you turn as a mesh or as a point cloud is absolutely geolocated. You can create various mesh in various mesh densities, being high resolution meshes for small equipment, on lower resolution meshes for the background, like for example, these mesh export 1 FBX, so the one that were at the beginning, have been produced with a resolution of about 2 inches. So very light model. And what you can do as well here, we created another example. So we section part of the area as a mesh again with a pretty high resolution here. And we now also added some design work that is scheduled to happen in this area. And you can see that using the mesh, you clearly see those clashes between the existing conditions on your design. Okay, and what we wanted to show here is that using a mesh instead of a point cloud, and this is the same data, but as a point cloud exported from Cintoo Cloud as well, you have exactly the same geometry, but as a point cloud, so say these clashes are more difficult to view or interpret, you see, because a point cloud is a set of 3D dots in space, so you see through the dots, of course. So again, comparing what you see with a mesh, which is now to what you see with a point cloud, makes a big difference when you do your clash detection inside Navisworks. So these are the capabilities we offer with Cintoo Cloud. Let me move on. Another recent update is that now we offer the possibility to add iframes into your portal. Let's say you have a digital twin portal that you want to connect to Cintoo Cloud. Let's say you have a button called As Built. You click on this button, that will trigger Cintoo Cloud data that you will see as an iframe inside your portal. Okay, so what is new here is that we have iframes for either scan views, so the location of the scans, or also what we call asset views, so looking at an equipment, or what we call shared views, which is what Drew has been showing us a few minutes ago. And what is new as well is that for those iframes, if you have SSO implemented with Cintoo Cloud, the authentication will be done automatically. Now, a glimpse of what is coming, a few new features that are coming in the next few weeks. Number one is what we call the possibility to import and view assets coming in their existing conditions. And as I said, there are various ways of populating those assets, one being creating a manual crop. Secondly, is to upload an Excel sheet or a CSV file containing your list of assets with their geolocation on hyperlinks. And this is what is illustrated here. And if I go into the project, we display those assets in their existing conditions. So you can relate to them into in your workflow. On this, with those hyperlinks, we can also export the same list of assets from Cintoo Cloud with the asset views, so you can reintroduce those links into your digital twin platform. So we close the loop between Cintoo Cloud on your digital twin platform. So let me show you this here. We have a list of assets called mechanical room assets. If I click on one of those assets, I will be automatically put in what we call the asset view. And this has been computed automatically by Cintoo Cloud from the list of assets. Okay, you can of course view that either as a panoramic image or a 3D surface or 3D RGB. And Drew showed you the advantage of having the surface because sometimes those areas are very dark, you'd see nothing. And this is what we do with these asset views. Okay, let me remove the model to show this particular asset. So this is something, if you're interested by those asset management tools, let us know. Coming back to the deck, the next thing I wanted to highlight today is that we're going to support very quickly now, it's almost done, various mobile indoor devices like the Navis VLX, Navis M6, GeoSlam, Zeb series, Biometris, Backpack, Leica BLK2Go, Emerson Overmap, etc., etc. On what we do for this, what we call unstructured data, we take the data after it has been registered using their SLAM technologies. Each company provides a very cool SLAM technology for building a very beautiful point cloud. And so what we take this unstructured point cloud, we take the camera paths and eventually the panoramic images coming with it, and we restructure the unstructured data. Basically, what we turn your unstructured data as if it would be coming from a terrestrial laser scanner. And this is really cool. Let me show you an example of that. Thanks to Aaron at True Point Laser Scanning, using VLX already with Cintoo Cloud. This is what you get. So here, clicking on this project, I will open Cintoo Cloud. So this is all the panoramic images coming from the device. This is a VLX device. And when you upload such information, you have also the possibility to sample along the camera path. You may not want to use all the panoramic images being produced. It may be 1/5 or 1/10. It's up to you to decide. And then if I go into the 3D view, this is the kind of data that you have here. I would remove the Revit model. And this is exactly the same data as if it would be coming from a static scanner. Okay, so if I use, let's say, the X-ray vision, you see all the scan locations here. I can take a top view, orthographic, and you see all the relevant information you have from this point cloud data originally turned into meshes now. Let me go back into RGB perspective mode. Let me show you one of the scans, like for example, yeah, this one is interesting. I go into one of the scan positions. The first thing you would see, of course, would be the panoramic image. So this is a panoramic image coming from the device. Okay. But we turn each one of them as a 3D scan. So we also have now the surface mode, okay, as if the data would be coming from a static scanner with the resolution, of course, of the device. But it's really a good data set here, okay. And of course, you may have the color with it as well. So if you're interested by this capability, let us know. It's we're starting right now. This call is coming with a new version of Cintoo Connect called Cintoo Connect 2.0, and this is almost available. And just to finish on this deck and maybe answer a few questions more, what we have coming, that will be more like early Q2, so about 1 month to 1.5 months from now, is this capability to upload not only the BIM model, which we do today, coming from BIM 360, we can pull a Revit model, a Navisworks model, a DWG file, etc. But we'll do it also with the BIM disciplines on metadata, okay? So for example, Drew showed you how he's using work zones to display on/off the various disciplines of his BIM model. Eventually, in the next few weeks, you will not need to do that because the BIM model will come with all the disciplines that you will be able to toggle on/off as well inside the platform. And if you click on an object or click on an equipment, you will have all the metadata corresponding to it. Okay, so the really cool feature coming on this will be valid for the data that you pull from BIM 360 first. And last but not least, this is another interesting capability. Everything we do is mesh-based, as you understand. And sometimes people want to create, interactive or immersive, even rich media experiences, mixing scan data or mixing as-built conditions with CAD or BIM models or animations. Okay, and the struggle of bringing as-built conditions in a real-time game engine. It takes weeks of optimization. You have to compromise on the mesh density. You have to compromise on the photo texture size, something like that. What if, instead of creating those meshes, what if we stream live those meshes from Cintoo to have the same experience that you have in the web app? This is exactly what we do here. Okay, so here, this is just a quick example. We have a data set of the Autodesk Pier 9 in San Francisco. So what we do, we stream live this into Unreal, and we augment those data sets or those mesh info, those scan data with some 3D animation, like the delivery track here. So everything existing conditions you don't have to take care about because this is coming from Cintoo Cloud. You just have to design your 3D model on 3D animations. And of course, we can detect clashes and things like that. So imagine the power of this. If you have if you want to design or to develop an application that will do, I don't know, anything like factory layout or safety simulation, something like that, please consider this option. That will be it for me. Open to questions if there are any.
Yeah, I had a couple of them here. So one of them was, what about supporting drone data?
Yeah, excellent question. So drone data will be exactly the same process as we do for indoor mobile lidar data, and that is coming in Q3. So I'll say this summer we have excellent results with drone data. Okay, I cannot show you an example because they all belong to our customers. We have been using the beta program, but yeah, supporting drone data is coming. And that will be using the same restructuring process that we have for unstructured indoor data.
Okay, and just quickly, I've had several questions around this. Can you explain or let the audience know what file formats from the scan data we accept?
Yeah, so when we upload scans into Cintoo Cloud, if this is a static scans or terrestrial scans or scans on a tripod, this will be E57, a structure E57, because we need to know the location of the scanner. We need to know, we need to have the panoramic image. It can be also a structure RCP from Autodesk Recap, or it can be also a structure FLS or LSProj. This is a format we support so far. When it comes to unstructured data, so mobile indoor data, that will be E57, or also we can read the PLY information coming from Navis. And then we have various files, other files being XML files or text files or Excel sheet that will give us the camera trajectory. So we can read the XYZ file from Biometrics. We can read the Excel sheet from Navis, GeoSlam, etc., etc. So we kind of support almost all of them. When it comes to the BLK2Go data, which is a new device, by Leica, the handheld device, they have a specific format called, it's only 57 format, by the way, with their new version of Register 360. They call it the CLY. I shouldn't call it the CLY format, but this E57 contains everything we need for Cintoo Cloud, contains the point cloud, the camera trajectory, and all the panoramic images. Okay, and this is produced from the latest Register 360 version, and you need to run this CLI command line that I put in place to do that. Very straightforward.
Great, I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Dominic, if you go to the next slide, please.
Absolutely.
So once again, I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to attend our webinar today. Special thanks to Drew Redmond from Hensel Phelps. Excellent presentation. So just to let you all know, if you need more information, you can always go to www.cintoo.com. Or if you got specific questions you would like to ask us, you can always contact us at sales@cintoo.com or contact@cintoo.com.